Righto, welcome to episode 3 of this Draftstars analysis show. We're going to dive straight into looking at the test match that has just finished. Yeah, we didn't get around to doing a preview for that one, but it'll still be interesting to have a look at what happened. So, um, obviously, Australia got it done in 5 days. I did a little bit of a different strategy for this game. So, I had 15 lineups in the main, had 20 lineups in the mini. They were mostly the same lineups. Cashed 6 of them, and yeah, I had some decent lineups up near the top. I was 35 points off the winner, and I guess test matches there's probably a little bit less variance than T20 and stuff, so there's a bit more, maybe a bit more of an edge to be had. Um, your exposures don't need to be as flat. I'm still working out how that works. Like a lot of people have been saying, there's not really any kind of winning strategy, it seems, in cricket, but that doesn't mean it's not worth trying to think something up. So, Bethel, most owned player, had a great game, obviously, scored his first century. Nessa, so the chalk's done well here. Nessa, Webster, they're all cheap. They've all gone off. First failed bit of chalk is Stokes. Had that injury, but yeah, I don't think he was getting there anyway at his price. Stark was okay, but that's kind of a fail for his price. Didn't make it into the winning lineup. Smith was great, and then we have to go down a bit to find Brook was a pretty good play. Not in the winning lineup though. Tongue, solid play. Root, really good play at that price. But again, didn't make it into the winning lineup. That's quite surprising. Travis Head, good. Some decent values down at the bottom. So you could build a pretty cool lineup. Like, for example, Duckett, lowest owned player in the winning lineup. What else have we got? Chalk, 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 chalk. Yeah, so this lineup's kind of gone with the three chalkiest players who all came off. And then Smith, who's kind of in the middle. And then Head, uh, Tongue, and Duckett, who are towards the bottom of the ownership. Good way to play it. What do they call? I think they call that barbell approach in American DFS, where you have the guys from the top, the guys from the bottom, sort of nothing in between. Yeah, that's well played. Did I have my exposures for that one? Nope. So yeah, that was sort of the first cricket game where I decided to use a bit of a different strategy, and I've got a decent result out of that one. There's obviously a tiny sample size so far. I'm going to take the whole month and see how I feel about it. Let's move on to some big bash games. This one from last night, Scorchers Renegades. So this is the micro, 50 entries. Didn't cash that many. 8. I did have the second best lineup, but uh, got caught behind Matty 47's 5 lineup train, which is always frustrating, but well played, Matty 47. If you can uh, play the best lineup and get the extra cash for top 5 spots, well done. I'm even feeling this slate. Not much of the chalk failed, really. Josh Brown, Beardman, but it's pretty even kind of slate. Not many of the lowest owned guys really were must haves. None of them really. I mean, yeah, Peak, Turner. Um, but I played, so the way I'm playing at the moment, I end up with a much flatter exposure than what I was doing previously. And a part of me wonders if I just played everyone at like 33% or whatever the number is, if you play everyone equal. I wonder if that's kind of an optimal strategy in such a lottery of a sport. I'm not even sure how I would do that on the optimizer without just creating a bunch of terribly projected lineups. But anyway, I've got an approach I'm using that sort of gets me in the ballpark without being completely evenly spread out. Um, yeah, and I don't know, a couple of decent results. So that one, I'll come back and go through the players in a second. The night before, Strike and Thunder, same thing, 50 lineups, cashed a bunch more this time. And best lineup was in third. Fair way off the winning lineup, but nothing to sneeze at. Third place. Right, let's go through these players. Uh, so at the Scorchers, Connolly keeps failing with the bat, but he keeps bowling 4 overs, so he's going to come off with the bat again soon. No matter how high his price is, he's a great play. Probably a top 3 fantasy player in the comp, as I said last time. Hardy's on a bit of a tear. He's got an awesome role. He's getting most of his overs. He's getting a fair crack at batting every game. Seems to be in good form. He definitely projects lower than Connolly, so their prices being pretty even. Like, I'm definitely leaning Connolly, but I want to play plenty of Hardy as well. Finn Allen, he's sort of an all or nothing, but his price will probably creep down a little bit more, and he's definitely in play. Same with Marsh. As long as they're both opening, their ceilings are enormous. Turner's been a funny one, so didn't do a lot with the bat in this game. He actually had a couple of drop catches, one of them very controversial. And again, for the second game in a row, he's bowled 1 over, conceded 1 run, and this time taken 1 wicket. Last time 2 wickets, which is probably not sustainable, but you have to factor it in. And I've definitely chucked his projection up a few points to try and account for that. Evans is not having a good season. He had the gloves on, just kind of stuck behind a really good top order. So I'm sure he'll come off at some point. But him and Hobson are both kind of dicey players when they're not getting that much opportunity, and they're pretty hit or miss when they do get a chance. Beardman, yeah, he's um, he's not there yet, I don't think, and he's not. He's often only getting a couple of overs, so my projection keeps dropping for him. Payne is, I don't know what to think of him. He's very accurate. He swings it a bit, pretty economical. I think he's fine. We know Richardson's stealing. He's probably not the player that he was, but he's he's going to have some big scores in him at some point. And Parrish just keeps frustrating me. Like, he got a duck in this game. He only bowled 2 overs, and he still scored decently. So yeah, my projection continues to rise on him. Stowe had a shocker, expensive in his 2 overs, just wasn't landing them. He'll have better games if he keeps getting picked. Elliott looked quite impressive. Just hitting a length. He's a big dude, strong. Um, yeah, if his price stays low, we'll be playing lots of him. Dorf was back on his home wicket finally, or his previously his home wicket. He looked really good. Didn't quite get the bag of wickets he needed, but he was in the winning lineup, so he was still viable. And I don't know, like obviously Marvel Stadium isn't suiting him, so maybe try and avoid him there or just drop the projection a little bit is probably what I'll be doing. Sutherland still has a great role. He's not quite coming off fully this season, but he he will, and his price has dropped enough that he's probably going to be one of the highest owned players on post slates going forward. And Hassan Khan, another player, him and Sandhu both, but Khan just like looks pretty good with the ball. Doesn't look spectacular with the bat, but not terrible. Good in the field. Um, I think he's averaging nearly 50, which is feels outrageous, but my projection keeps rising by a few points on him every game. And same with Sandhu. I think I was projecting him close to 35 not long ago, and now it's closer to 45, which is like he's, if I can get it up here, think that Sandhu's 5 season average is, yeah, 46, 44, 45. So he's, yeah, don't really know what to say about that. I'm going to have to start rating him as a bit more of a serious bowler. Um, who else we got? Yeah, Seifert was awesome to start the season. He hasn't come off for a while. If his price drops a bit more, he's an awesome play. It's really hard to back Fraser McGurk. Like, I'm sure he's going to have a big game at some point, but he just looks lost. Brown, very hit or miss, but yeah, Rizwan, it's hard to really trust any of the Renegades top order. But they can all play and they're all cheap enough, so you just got to mix and match them. Pete's the one that just looks like if they he's probably not going to move from his role at 5. But if he moved up the order, I mean, he'd be the guy. His price would go up to 16, 17,000, and he looks like, you know, when Steve Smith is done, he's the guy in the Aussie team. Anyway, that's that one. Maybe next video I'll have a look at how my performances in the micro have gone so far this year while I've been trying to use a bit of a different strategy. It's just a bit too soon at the moment. So the night before, Strikers Thunder. Let's see if anything stands out here. Gun, Warner. He did this last year too. He took a few games to find his form and then he was great. So he's worth playing at any price, basically. Scott's the same. He's mostly getting his work done with the bat. But a couple of overs doesn't hurt. Bowling as well. Jilks is having his best season. Sam's kind of seems to be back to his best to me. Um, yeah, I'd say he'll have a couple of massive games coming up. I know there's not many games left in the season, so maybe one more massive game in him. Harvey, his ceiling isn't that big, but his, well, there's no floor in T20, but his median outcome is fine, batting at number 3. Willie, I'm pretty sure way back he went really well in the Big Bash. I know he's a good player. He's done well for England. So yeah, if his price stays low for another game or two, definitely play a bunch of him. Maddinson seems very, very rusty. I'd probably expect him to have more down games than up games coming, so wouldn't lean into that too much. Similar story with Sanger. Lynn, love his ceiling, always backing him. Wadia didn't bowl in this one after bowling 4 overs in the previous, so that's a very unpredictable role. I think he's averaging like 20 so far, Draftstars. I'm going to probably stay away from that as much as I can, or definitely in the lower side of my exposures. Short, I believe he's had a couple of quiet games in a row, has he? Yeah, 3 in a row by his standards. He's due. He's due. And Manenti, yeah, no thank you. Often batting as low as 8, not bowling, not very good at cricket by professional standards. Yeah, San Ali looks awesome. He's got a heap of control, plenty of tricks up his sleeve. Hope he's good these days. And Luke Wood, he's had a couple of stinkers in a row as well. But well, yeah, hopefully that price drops a bit. And he will very much be in play. All the Thunder bowlers are, I don't know. Yeah, that was surprising from Agar. Um, Second game back for Agar. He's got a lot of talent. At one point, I thought he was definitely heading for the Aussie team, but just cannot stay fit. Tanvir's saying that's very cheap for Tanvir. If he stays, yeah, I'm going to play lots of him at that price. Oh yeah, Chris Green. I didn't touch on these bottom few Thunder players. So Green, awful season so far. I don't really know what's going on there. He's still bowling his full role. He's not batting quite as much as he used to, but he is a weird one. Very weird one. Um, don't really know what to do with him. Like his long, like his career average is about 44 draft stars. I don't really feel like I can project him that much lower than that when he's playing a full bowling role. But yeah, maybe I need to get it a bit lower, down to 40 or a bit less. Constus, God, he's had one good outing in 7 games this season, um, averaging 31 in his 11 games. Just, I don't know. Maybe he's a 35 guy. Like a lot of the less reliable top order players tend to settle around 35 draft stars. So maybe I stop leaning too hard into his talent, just call him a 35 guy and have just a little bit of him for the games where he goes off. Probably going to fail more often than he goes off. So that would work. Billings, yeah, he's a bit off his usual standards this season, but he's a classy guy. He'll come good. I'm also a bit off my best stuff today. It's bloody hot in this room. All right, we'll have a quick look at tonight's game, which is starting in just under 2 hours. Who is of interest? Cartwright, should he roll? Rogers literally averages 25, batting in the top three. Stay well away. Don't know if Clark's still around the team or not. If he plays, he's like a 40 guy when he opens. Um, McDonald's look good. I think he's batted at 8 in one game and 4 in the other. Um, yeah, with Stoinis and Maxwell below him, like I don't trust his role that much. I definitely wouldn't play too much of him. Kellaway, rock solid at that price. Not a standout value, but definitely in play. Harper, man, what a season, averaging 83. So, yeah, Curran's going great. Stoinis is going great. The weird one is Maxwell, who he doesn't quite have the role he used to have. He's batting a bit lower, he's bowling a bit less. The ball's not coming to him in the field. Has his price dropped enough to lean into the big, Maxwell game that's always coming at some point? Maybe, maybe. I find it really hard to get his projection lower than Stoinis, really, but I probably should be getting it down a bit more. So yeah, I'm probably going to keep playing a lot of Maxwell and just hoping the game comes, but not necessarily a course of action I would recommend. Siddle is just on fire. He's got a great role. He's bowling great. Just keep leaning into that. Ralph is a bit more sort of wayward. Doesn't quite seem to have the kind of X factor that he had 5 years ago when he was tearing the comp apart. Still good though. Um, probably play a similar amount of Siddle and Ralph, I would say. Swepson keeps proving me wrong. Um, I've got the projection up a bit, but I imagine he'll still be one of my lowest plays on the slate. So hopefully for me, he finally has quite a game. In the Sixers, yeah, Edwards has got that nice middle order, full bowling role. Fields in hot spots. Keep playing him no matter the price. Philippi, I think he's coming back to earth a fair bit after a hot start. Um, yeah, he's not a standout play, but he's fine with his ceiling at that price. Davies, his price has, essentially doubled from the start of the season. Incredible. 3 tons. Incredible. And like I would say, yeah, no overs, 1 over, 4-4-3-4. So 4 games in a row. The team's just said, you are on fire, mate. He's a bigger role. Um, looks good with a bat. He's a gun fielder. There's no way my projection's high enough. I need to go back and fix that, most likely. Babar is struggling. He's a little bit too cheap for what his history says. Doesn't quite have the role he's had in the past. Like he's lower order batting now and maybe not always getting his fullback of overs. Sort of a 3 over guy at the moment. So that price is probably about right. But if you want to lean into history a bit, like I'm happy to play a decent amount of him. I'd certainly prefer him to Hughes, who, yeah, he's one of those sort of 35 to 40 guys, even while opening historically. Moses has gotten really cheap. Wow. Done nothing yet this year. I'd be willing to lean into Moses a bit. Same with Silk. They're both way too cheap for their historical output, which is kind of, at least for me, that's where I find my GPP plays. Like they've got the role they've always had. They're due. They're very due. And then, yeah, Abbott's been on fire. He's still quite cheap for his sort of 60 average that he pumps out normally. Cautious, too cheap for a guy who goes in the low 50s. Same as Enrique and Silk. He's pretty due. He's looked fine, I think. Um, Most of these other guys aren't playing consistently. They're all solid plays if they play, cheap enough, except for Menenti. Do not play that guy. He, yeah, one or two overs and barely bats. Barely does much when he does bat. And there we go. That's that game covered. I was thinking of having a look at the NFL coming up, but I haven't actually looked at the slate myself or the projections or anything, so I'll probably just steer clear of that. God, it's sweaty in here. All right. So I talked a bit about women's sport on the last video. If anyone has any ideas for how we can get something going on that, I need to talk to someone at Draftstars, find out if we're allowed to put money in for the data feed that's needed. Um, that's sort of the approach that I've been thinking of recently. Like I said, maybe crowdfunding for that, or maybe, I don't know. Crowdfunding seems like the best idea to me. So let me know if you have any ideas about that. Let me know if you have any kind of constructive feedback on what I've done so far. If there's anything else you'd like me to have a look at. There wasn't a whole lot there today to get stuck into. Like, it's a bit of hit and giggle with the big bash. It's hard to sort of talk about any really theoretically strong DFS strategies. So probably when we get down the line a bit, we've got some footy to look at. Maybe I'll have a bit more to sink my teeth into. But yeah, I'm going to keep trying to do this on Mondays and Thursdays, and just see where it goes. And yeah, with the women's sport, I know I don't know why, like last time it was on, I think it was 2022, the AFLW. There was Draft Stars sort of came in hard with sort of like $10,000 contests to start the season. And there was a decent amount of overlay, and they quickly dropped back to maybe $3,000 contests. And this happens with a lot of sports on Draft Stars. It just seems like it's like AFL, and then outside of AFL season, that's a little bit of Big Bash, NBA, NFL, but it's really just an AFL site, and that is frustrating. Um, I'm someone that believes, like, I grew up as a big NRL fan, sort of till I was 18. It was all NRL and cricket. I referred to AFL as aerial ping pong and GAFL at school. And yeah, then I went to uni. All my friends followed AFL. You know, there were guys following NBA, there were guys into the NFL. And I sort of learned to appreciate a lot of different sports. Started getting into women's sport back then, mostly through cricket. And I learnt, and I feel strongly that sport isn't, well, following sport shouldn't be about kind of what's most popular or what you grew up with. The, for me, the thing I love about sport is uh, kind of the narratives, things players have had to overcome to play, records they're going for, um, sort of coaching narratives and all that kind of thing. And then variants like, oh my God, I really expected this thing to happen. And it's total opposite. That kind of thing happens all the time. And every time it happens, everyone's like, how is this possible? Which is why betting on underdogs is something I love doing because it's there's always upsets. And that is there in every sport, no matter kind of the standard. And I think we just have this thing where we grew up with a certain sport, we understand the rules, we know the backstory, and it's easier just to say this sport is kind of inherently better than any other, which is a shame, I think. Like, it's just not the case. Something funny going on in my video there, I think. So, anyway, that was a bit of a rant, but what I'm trying to say is women's sport falls into this category where it's a lot less people want to watch it, a lot less people want to play on Draftstars. And especially when it comes to Draftstars, I just think that's a real shame because some of these smaller sports are the best opportunities to make some money. Like hardly anyone's doing any work, and that's what you need to do well in DFS. Like it's like anything else, you need to work at it, come up with a process. It's not just like gut feeling on who's going to go well today. Not many people are making any money doing that. And yeah, in these smaller sports, there's even less people doing any work at all. So you just do a basic amount of work and you can make some money there. I feel like a lot more of us should be doing that, playing those sports. Um, and like last time when the AFL 2022 AFLW season, from memory, I made about $23,000 in the like 10-week season, whatever it was, plus finals. I think my ROI was like 70%, which is like way higher than any other sport. And I didn't follow the sport at all. I just made up a spreadsheet, the same as I do for all the other sports, with all the players' historical scores. I didn't know anything about role changes, didn't know anything about injuries. I just, um, and I was using some weird kind of algorithmic projections back then. So I just sort of played everyone based on what they'd scored historically, and that was enough for a 70% ROI. Um, and yeah, I find a pretty similar thing in NRL. Um, just these smaller sports where some of the sharper players apparently can't be bothered to, or just aren't interested to play in those areas. Um, I think that's a good opportunity for someone looking to up their game and sort of just get profitable on draft styles, build up a bankroll, and also I've found that beneficial in building a process that works across lots of different sports, and I think that's handy to sort of learn um, a much wider set of edges that you can apply to a bunch of different sports. So anyway, that's one of the reasons that I want AFLW back on the site. I want NRLW on there because I know even a smaller sport than AFLW with even less people following, but I still think it's really good. And I think there's heaps of edge if we get it on there and just do a bit of work on historical averages. Maybe if we go down that route and we do some crowdfunding for it, I'll have to offer to share my projections with people who help out with the crowdfunding. That's probably something I should work on. So let me know what you think about all that. Uh, Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to talk about on future videos. I feel like I'm sort of stuck between doing like preview, review, talk about theory. Um, that's fine. I'm just throwing shit at the wall at the moment, and we'll see where we end up. That is all for today. I'll see you next Monday.